When we talk about the destination every manga author wants to arrive at, it's always been pointing towards being serialized in a magazine. Whether it's shoujo, seinen, shonen, or light novels, there is a place for all the demographics to be focused towards an audience. It's these magazines that allow us to read and discuss series with potential and allow these authors to turn their ideas into reality. Of course, when we talk about shonen, the main focus has primarily been Weekly Shonen Jump. Though there are magazines like Jump Plus and Jump Giga, the weekly format of producing chapters has managed to continue the consistent conversation year-long, also producing some of the most notorious series in anime. From the origins of Dragon Ball and One Piece to the current stars of My Hero Academia and Jujutsu Kaisen, all of them have stemmed from this magazine. The backbone of all of this, and what keeps Jump alive of course, being the authors. It's no secret that one of the biggest victories a shonen author can have is to make it within Shonen Jump. We've seen plenty of series going strong for years now, and others coming and going. Landing a hit can be difficult, and sometimes it takes more than one attempt to really stick the landing. Yet when you are able to make it and produce a series that reaches insane amounts of success, it is probably the best feeling in the world. Just look at Oda, incredible anime as of lately, plenty of movies under his belt, a series loved in Japan to no ends, and soon a live action on Netflix. There's a lot of cool things that can happen when you make it into Shonen Jump, but things are never all rainbows and sunshine. To make it is one thing, but to survive is another. We all know how the usual workday can go. You gotta wake up at a certain time, hit that grind, and call it a day once the clock strikes 4 or 5. However, the thing about the Weekly Jump format is that these work schedules can be brutal. If you are interested in details, feel free to go check out my buddy Asa's video about how brutal the manga industry can really get. TLDR, these authors' schedules can be absolutely insane to the point you may question how it can even be allowed. Some get barely any sleep, others a lackluster amount of time to decompress and even eat lunch. We've had author comments talking about their work days or even the health issues that they've experienced, and it can be very worrisome. On one hand, you can simply tie it down to being the spirit of Shonen Jump when it comes to being an author, but quite frankly, that is not a valid excuse to look past the brutal situations these authors have to go through. At the end of the day, no matter how good or notorious one's work is, they are still people. People who can be worn down, people who can struggle mentally, and people who have families they need to support as well. Throughout the years and my growing knowledge, I have seen so many authors slowly but surely be torn down by the conditions of Jump and the health issues that can stem from the environment. If we run it back from the top, we all know of Togashi and his struggle with continuing Hunter x Hunter. Back issues to the point where it could be hard to sit up straight to simply use the restroom became a challenge. Even with the recent burst of Hunter x Hunter hype that came earlier this year, he once again had to fall back and put himself first. Which rightfully so, he should. He is married to one of the best manga authors as well, Naoko Takeuchi, the creator of Sailor Moon. Yet to see this man struggle even years later can be heartbreaking. I said a long time ago in my era of long-running shonen video that I do not believe any dream is worth someone's life or health. While that may have came off insensitive towards one's desire to achieve a goal, what I should have said instead was that it is simply painful to watch these authors break themselves down in order to reach the finish line. Following right behind Togashi, I eventually learned about Ashihara with World Trigger. We all know I love it, it's in the banner, it makes up a good fraction of my content, and I still talk about it online when the chapters drop. For the longest time, I had no idea that World Trigger began as a weekly series in the first place. It ended up moving to monthly because of the struggling battle of health that Ashihara has been dealing with for years now. Just this past month, we didn't get a chapter because his health not being in the best shape to release the chapter. Mind you, this is on the monthly schedule. This pushes the idea that no matter if you are weekly or monthly, the industry will tear you apart. Fast forward to recent times and we still see the issues going on. Kubo with the 1,000-Year Blood War, Gege with the mini Zenin arc, the author of Rui Dragon having one of the best debuts, yet immediately having to go on hiatus because of health, and at the top of them all being Kohei Horikoshi, author of My Hero Academia and one of the most successful series Jump currently has. Horikoshi's art has been praised immensely for being some of the best out right now given the weekly schedule, yet it's no secret that the final act of the story has gotten the best of him. From unfinished chapter art to sudden breaks and even short page counts and concerns from author comments, Horikoshi has clearly shown a plethora of health concerns. The one big question that everyone has in their mind though being that why Hori will not take a break. An obvious question, yet the obvious solution that Hori has not done. With people like Gege and Oda and other peers taking their breaks when needed, one would think that Hori is in a position to do so as well. Quite frankly, I have no idea why. A lot of people like to speculate a multitude of reasons, starting with the fact that it stems from anxiety due to having 2 previous Axe series. His fear of getting axed is constantly looming over him even with the amount of success. Another idea people have, and the one that I am personally not a fan of, is that the idea that he is doing it to himself. He simply refuses to stop on his own accord and is willing to drive himself to the finish line by any means necessary. Now to be understanding, I get this is very annoying as fans having to deal with these sudden breaks or shorter chapter counts, but again, I have no idea why Hori has not taken a long break. For all we know, he can have a little devil on his shoulder telling him to keep going. Whatever people speculate, I'd rather not, as what I do not know, I will not preach like I do. In the event event that at the end of the series, Hori has an interview and he admits that he chose to push on, well then there's your answer. Or if we never find out, it is what it is. But if there is one thing that can be said, it's that it's surprising that Jump has not intervened. You'd think that seeing one of your biggest moneymakers struggle would at least make you want to stop them briefly before they burn out to a point of no return, but alas, here we are. Of course, some authors do make the bigger decisions from taking weeks to months off to changing magazines altogether. I can imagine that making such big decisions isn't the easiest thing to do, but putting yourself first is something everyone can respect, thus leading us to Yuki Tabata. Black Clover, in a simple word, has been the underdog. With recently a movie dropping as well, it's been pretty nice to see the series come back when a lot have wanted it to fail. Just like Horikoshi, Tabata has had his fair share of health issues on top of the fact that he is a father now and a husband. With all of those things in mind, we recently have had a huge change for Black Clover's serialization, going from Weekly Shonen Jump to Jump Giga, a magazine that produces one huge chapter with the page count being very high every quarter of the year. To Black Clover fans, this can be a blessing in disguise. To others, they believe that Tabata couldn't hang in there, and the most ignorant comment I have seen yet is that he failed because he didn't remain in the weekly format. I want to first say that the decision to switch magazines is far from a failure. With all the health issues we have seen, the way quality of stories can deteriorate, this decision was very valid given the obligations at home as well. We are very used to Weekly Shonen Jump as fans, but the recent development for Black Clover once again proves that sometimes Weekly Shonen Jump is not the final destination. Gintama is also another successful series that moved to Jump Giga to wrap up its story, and it did so quite well. Even with the main point of the magazine delivering content weekly, it's okay for things to move to bi-weekly, and it's okay for things to move monthly, none of which indicate a sign of failure. I primarily know about Shonen Jump related things, but I can imagine that this has happened for all sorts of authors across demographics. Going from one magazine to another or just another delivery format to ensure that you can deliver the story as intended while also putting life obligations in front as well is no failure, but a major adjustment to ensure that both the quality of one story and their livelihood can be taken into account. Black Clover's situation is a good example to show that no matter how late in the series, things are still subject to change. For all we know, this can happen to any other current serialized series, and I surely doubt that this will be the last time we see something like this. People have got to realize that while Weekly Shonen Jump is the big magazine that the world pays attention to, not all the conditions make it easy to thrive in. With that being said though, from a consumer perspective, Black Clover literally has zero room for a fumble. Between a long break with the Lucius reveal, another month break not too much longer after, and now having chapters published every quarter of the year, Tabata's writing has got to be on point. It cannot get better for him situation-wise. I'm saying this now because of how much content I have made to support Black Clover, but if this series fumbles, you best believe I will be one of the first people ripping into it. This is not a matter of hypocrisy, but simply upholding my judgment through the highs and lows. Of course, with keeping the health issues and family obligations in mind, it's not like I'll be absolutely tearing into Tabata as a person, but just directly his writing decisions as an author. Nevertheless, it's gonna be a long final stretch till the series ends, and I hope that in the end, Tabata manages to validate every break and every major decision there has ever been to maintain a quality ending. Otherwise, may God have mercy on all Black Clover fans, because the anime community and I will not. That's pretty much it from me though. If you are new around here, make sure to tune in next week as we discuss the watch list for the upcoming fall 2023 season. As always, thank you for watching, and make sure to leave all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Stay cool out there, and I will catch you all in the next one.